Council Station System, Edge of Light, January 31st, 3506. As Lana stepped out of the craft that had carried her to freedom, she was met by an unexpected sight: the human ambassador and a small entourage of what appeared to be officers of human Lishi and Carius. However, the most surprising figure was a cat Vulcan of gray fur and unglossed eyes, clearly the highest-ranking officer among them, Ambassador Lana. The Catal officer began, bowing his head. "It is a pleasure to have you on board my ship. Welcome to the Endeavor. I am Admiral Khan of the Carius Core Fleet." Lana watched the unknown admiral for a moment, taking in his words. "As the heiress to the throne, I wish more than anyone to see our people prosper," she said, placing a hand on the admiral's shoulder. "But that oversized marsupial had to be an idiot, just like his father. I will not see our people die for a war we should not have started." She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her responsibility. Lana continued, "Moreover, I am sick of watching those morons grow fat through our hard work. We were there first, and now we will be the first to break our chains and the chains of any other that wishes. For life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." A human admiral, whom Lana vaguely recognized, looked over with a wide grin. Bold yet appealing choice of words, he commented. "Admiral Kyla, the soldier that rescued me, said my mother was also rescued. I would like to go see her," Lana requested, her voice tinged with hope. The admiral looked at the human ambassador, Rout, who chimed in, "The Teran Union is the one that completed that rescue." "Perhaps Ambassador Rout knows where she is." Lana looked at the humans, her mind racing. Surely it was a mistake. The human fleet couldn't have done it. "How much did humanity lose to free my mother?" she asked, dreading the answer. "One light cargo ship," the human admiral replied. "What my counterpart meant," Rout clarified, "was that the extraction of your mother was handled by a special operations team who also faked their deaths at the edge of the Kali system by intentionally detonating a reactor of a light cargo ship. She is currently being transported back to Terran space and will be staying with one of our senators. However, she has declared you as the Catalan leader for this war, so we can't take you to her yet," Kian added. "That changes things," Lana said, before turning to the admiral. "Can you send a message toward the Empire on all frequencies?" "Of course," the elderly Catal Vulcan replied with a glint of joy. "And we have taken the liberty to set up a spot for a video message to be sent, not just audio. But first, let's get into FTL towards the Carius technocracy. The Council Defense Fleet is following the trail of the boarding pod, and I am under orders to make that trail disappear in FTL jump," the admiral explained, his tone resolute. KTSS Endeavor, Utility Room 3. Lana was now dressed in a well-made battle dress uniform of her people's old military. She had been given time to change and freshen up, but the weight of responsibility bore heavily on her shoulders. Her next actions would make or break the lives of her people. Most would listen to her message, and so would some of the other contracted races, but some wouldn't. Her people would be divided, and unlike the Galavrck and Koshian, that line would be blurred as families would be torn apart. A tech behind the camera started the countdown. A green light came on as the count hit 0. "My people and all second and third citizens of the Kalazar Empire and all their contracted allies, I am former Ambassador Lana, and I have an important message. Today, after 1,520 loops, I am declaring war on the Kalmar Empire. This is a war for our independence, for our freedom, for our future," she declared, her voice steady and unwavering. "The reason for this war," Lana continued, "is that the current emperor has failed to see the dangers he has placed his sovereignty in. He has chosen to indirectly declare war on the Teran Union, a race that I concluded the empire could not win against. This war would have our people bleed by the trillions and our worlds and people suffer needlessly. I implore all those who wish freedom to take back the reins and come to my people's ancient and hallowed homeworld, to the glass world of Kataris. Come and join this call to arms, a call for justice, a call for freedom, a call for liberty and the rightful pursuit of happiness. Let today be the sounding of the war horns, the crack of the thunderous war cry. Let none stand against us. For this war has come to the empire of opportunists, and let them break against those who will accept nothing less than freedom." As the light on the camera switched back to yellow, Lana felt a new pit form in her stomach. Teran War Room, Earth, Sol System, January 31st, 3506. The Commander-in-Chief of the Teran Union looked out at the assembled admirals, generals, and diplomats. He was now faced with a monumental decision: how to go about these two wars. On one hand, the Catal people had a right to be free, and on the other, the Teran Union had sworn to help protect the Kosian Citizens' Republic. Yet, he also had to consider defending the home front from yet-to-be-seen actors. Ladies and gentlemen, he began in a calm, measured tone, our Union is at war. Our garrison forces at the KCR have reported the implementation of a plan called. He looked down at his notes, raising an eyebrow, Fabian Void. The name struck him as odd, but he continued, the 1st to 4th QRF fleets are assisting them, and the likelihood of them needing more help is unlikely. The Catalans are going to be supplied by the Carius technocracy. And the Lari Star Conclave has deployed 2 of their fleets to take and form a foothold in the Kalazar Empire. That takes the pressure off us. But we need to accept 2 things, the commander-in-chief continued, looking out at the room. 1, we don't know if there are other nations that will attack us, and 2, we don't know how or where the Kalmar Empire will attack. We have 3 fleets in combat-ready status, and an additional 5 good for defense but undersupplied, and 3 more currently being built up. So, where does that leave us? He paused, but no one answered. If someone jumps in, if we commit everything, or if pirates decide they want to try their luck again, here's the plan. Fleets 4 and 5 will go and reinforce the QRF fleets in the Kosian front. Fleets 1 and 2 will go and help the Citadel on that front. And the rest are staying put for now. In the meantime, I'll start pushing for war status to the Union, see about getting those nitwits off their butts, and finishing our fleets. He gave a few of them one last glance. Let's get this done. Dismissed. The Kital System, Kosian Citizens' Republic, Galavrck Kosian Front, February 1st, 3506, 1020. KCS Nidon, High Princess Kyla, Grand Admiral of the First Fleet, sat in her command station, her thoughts racing. She questioned if her brother was right, or if the whole war could have been avoided. She wondered if her people could have been spared the horrors of the final night, and if her father ever truly had the ability to surrender. Her musings were abruptly cut short as an intel officer nearly jumped out of her seat, an alert blaring in the background. Admiral, we have 3 groups of FTL arrival signatures coming into the system, 29 giga units away. Number of ships unknown, the startled officer reported. Comms, Kyla called out, her voice steady. Nothing on schedule, Ma AM. Switch to standby alert for all ships and send a tight beam to Gamar, Kyla ordered, leaning back into her chair. This would be the opening battle of this war, and it would set the tone for everything to come. She had to win, not just for herself, but for her people. Comms, be ready to hail their flagship. Intel, I want numbers and ship types the second they exit FTL. Weapons, keep everything powered up except the main cannons. Engineering, power up the shields, Kyla commanded, her officers already at their tasks. Comms, when ready, open a channel to all ships in the planetary defenses channel open. Ma, AM, the comms officer replied. Kyla took a deep breath, her mind racing but clear-headed. Sailors and soldiers of the Kosian Citizens' Republic, in a few nano units, a cluster of unknown FTL signatures appeared on sensors. I have no doubt that these are fallen brethren. Those who have failed to see the passing of time and hold stubbornly to a glorified version of our history. But we are the defenders of our new nation, one where everyone lives free, one where everyone lives free, one where a person's course in life is determined by their will and drive for success. Through this change, my eyes have been opened. I see a bright, brilliant golden age, and I will fight for that age and for that future. So I ask, will you fight with me? Ma AM, all ships and ground stations are hailing back, yes, we will, the comms officer informed her, a sense of unity echoing through the fleet. Ma AM, UFCs are arriving, said the intel officer. Thank you both. Now report intel. What are we up against? Kyla asked, her focus sharpening. 3 battle groups of 50 ships, plus 2 transport fleets of 30 each. Profiles match with modified Galavrck Gallons and Caesar battle cruisers. The transport fleet is composed completely of Kalmar assault transports, Ma AM. The intel officer responded, his voice tense. Comms, hailing now, Ma AM, the comms officer added. Channel open. Kyla took a deep breath before addressing the enemy. Unidentified flotilla, this is Grand Admiral Kyla. You will deactivate your drives and declare your intention. She demanded, her tone brooking no argument. After a tense moment, the terminal flickered to life, and the image of a middle-aged Galavrck admiral appeared on the screen, his expression stern and unyielding. This is Admiral Jace. You and your fleet will surrender immediately. You are in possession of stolen territory and people. You will accept your place in the serfs of the Gallic Imperium, Admiral Jace declared, his voice cold and commanding. Kyla's eyes narrowed, but she kept her composure. "Admiral Jace, I find your request unacceptable, but I will say this: surrender saved the lives of you and your men. You will be treated fairly and provided for." "I don't want to fight you," Kyla replied, her tone firm but not unkind. "Sir, surrender. I outnumber your fleet by a factor of 3 to 1, and that's not including the transport fleet," Admiral Jace retorted, his confidence unwavering. "Very well, I will keep this channel free for your surrender," Kyla said before terminating the hail. "Nav, get us at max range," she ordered, her voice sharp. "Weapons, power up everything. Fleet, deploy all wings. Comms, tell the fleet to follow and prepare to engage." "Yes, Ma," and the officers responded in unison. Kyla watched as the fleet began to move in formation, fighters and bombers taking positions in the gaps between the massive ships. She was outnumbered. Her 50-strong fleet would have to knock out 3 ships each just to draw out this fight. But her ships were human-made, modified to work with their anatomy. 10 carriers, 4 battle cruisers, 5 destroyers, and a quote, "buttload of frigates." She didn't have the numerical advantage, but she did have the quality advantage. "Fleet, I want all fighters and bombers to attack their transport fleets as soon as they start moving. Relay to all wings weapons open with the MAX and follow up with the Shredder missiles. Comms, contact Kekel and tell the ground HQ that they may have company," Kyla ordered, her tone resolute. She studied the TAC map, her mind racing with strategies. "Now, let's show them what KCS Nidan can do," she muttered to herself, determination burning in her eyes. At 10 giga-units, the ships groaned as the 3 MAX fired, the battle beginning in earnest. Deep space, outside Koshian Citizens Republic. Galavrck Koshian Front, February 1st, 3506, 1035. Tuss wake the void. "So, that's their comms relay, right?" Master Gunnery Sergeant Barker asked, her voice calm despite the tension in the air. "Appears so," Captain Holt replied, his tone just as steady. "Not that it matters, we are here to make it a pain in the prince's ass." "Great. Fire up the railgun and let go," said the Master Gunnery Sergeant, her excitement barely contained. "Can't," the captain said back, his voice tinged with amusement. "Orders are to knock out but not destroy, so what do you think we should do, Marine?" "Well, according to Daniel, they don't know we're here, right?" Barker asked, her tone casual. "Yep, and we need as much intel as that thing has without blowing it up," Holt confirmed, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "Easy. Me and the boys go and breach through 2 airlocks. Just before we start our approach, you fire shredders at their antenna and exposed weapons. We breach, kill everyone inside, and download all their databases," Barker continued, her tone and energy completely offset by the fact that she was proposing an insanely dangerous plan. "Sounds perfect," Captain Holt said, his smile widening. "I'll get things ready. You go get your men ready." If this all went to plan, they would have the intel and complete their mission here. But with Barker leading the Marines, odds were that a few things would go wrong. Deep space, outside Koshian Citizens Republic. Galavrck Koshian Front, February 1st, 3506, 1040. On board the assault craft, it was cramped, with 14 Marines ready to pounce. Barker looked around at her men and smiled. All of them were the nutcases that stuck around because, according to them, goes 4 for her in the best way. She didn't mind it. Sure, she got demoted, but her last mission was a cluster, and she did her best to finish the mission and get her men out. No one was expecting a bunch of pirates to be good marksmen or to have heavy weapons. Just like how no one was ready for all 4 lieutenants and their captain to take anti-personnel rounds to the face within the first 5 minutes, Barker mused, her smile fading slightly. Or for their transport to be blown to Kingdom come the second they got to their LZ. Or that the pirates would deploy a comms jammer and a defense shield over their base, but she did it. She rallied the Marines, collapsed a tower, recovered the kidnapped civilians, and extracted everyone, even the dead. Head up. Intel believes that this comm station is relaying data for the ongoing battle in Kekel, said the co-pilot over the intercom. Confirmed ETA, Barker asked, her voice steady. 1 minute. Shredders are about to impact, informed the pilot. Helmets on, get ready to space it. Alpha Bravo, we have airlock 1. Charlie Delta, airlock 2, breaching in 5 mics. Weapons free but avoid collateral damage. Barker ordered, her tone calm and commanding. Everyone got their helmets on and checked their weapons. Their void suits were sealed with a hiss and hum as the air in the cabin left, leaving an eerie silence. A few had to recheck their suits and lock down leaks. After the last checks were completed, Barker slammed her fist on the pilot door. Less than a second later, the magnetic locks of the assault craft were released, and the two side doors opened, exposing the Marines to the vacuum of deep space. In the back of her mind, only one thought played out: I wonder if they have an automatic sealing system. The Cadal System, Koshian Citizens Republic, Galavrck Kosian Front, February 1st, 3506, 1025. KCS Nidan. The flagship rocked as another round from the enemy fleet hit the shields. Kyla held tight to her seat. Damage report, she yelled in the direction of engineering. Shields at 73% and holding. No breaches, but we can't take too many hits like that without diverting power to the array. The head of engineering responded, his voice strained. Increase power to the shield array by 15%, Kyla commanded, her tone brooking no argument. Weapons, shift PDS focus to intercept all missiles. We need time right away, Mon came the response. Kyla was surprised by the counterattack of her brother's forces. Her ship alone had taken 3 hits and had its position shifted, but she had to buy time. It would take her allies about an hour to jump into the system, and she had to play this battle the best way she could. Ma-am, their transport fleet has broken off and is approaching Katal, announced the intel officer. Our fighters and bombers will handle them, and my sister will handle any that make landfall, Kyla replied, her voice calm despite the situation. Our task right now is to keep their fleets up here. Her ship let out another groan as the main cannons fired again. She noted that one of the enemy ships blipped off the TAC map. Her fleet was doing a good job so far. She had only lost 2 ships to 10 of the enemy. She watched as the fighters and bombers broke into formation and chased after the transports. As they departed, the fleet's formation maneuvered slightly, closing together to allow for overlapping of PDS. Ma-am, one of the enemy battle groups hasn't engaged, said the intel officer, his voice tense. Kyla snapped her attention back from the terminal to the TAC map, where indeed one of the enemy battle groups had stayed still. Order the Vavar and Fatar to break formation and see if they can line up shots. If the enemy wants to stay still, then they can take some max to the face, Kyla ordered, her tone icy. Ma-am, the comms officer, acknowledged, relaying the orders. The ship took another hit, rocking violently. We have lost 6% of our force, and the wings are reporting a 5% loss in strength. The enemy transport fleets have lost 16% of their original force, and the enemy battle groups have lost 12% of their total power. The fleet officer reported, his voice steady despite the chaos. Kyla nodded, absorbing the information. Shield at 66%, Ma-am, the head of engineering, yelled, his voice tense. Ground HQ has requested we maneuver to point 012 so they can provide long-range fire support, Ma-am, the comms officer added. 3 Kila units until the main cannons are recharged. Missiles at 80% capacity, the weapons officer shouted while still typing away at his terminal. Ma-am, the enemy 3rd battle group is moving out of weapons range of the Vimavar and Fodder. The lieutenant commander said, sliding into the seat of a now concussed commander. Tell the Vavar and Fatar to fall back into formation, Kyla ordered, her tone sharp. Something didn't sit right about the last battle group. Intel, rescan the 3rd battle group and see if they are actively transmitting anything, Kyla ordered, her mind racing with possibilities. As soon as the words left her mandibles, the ship rocked again, harder this time, as if the enemy was growing more desperate. Move the fleet to point 2, slowly. We will bait the enemy while buying time for our attack crafts, Kyla commanded, her voice steady despite the tension. Something about that last fleet feels off. Comms, inform our reinforcement that they should arrive at point 05 and tell them it's Gark word. Intel, inform me the second any of their fleets move at all, she added, her tone resolute. The ship rocked again, and Kyla felt the tension in the air. Shields at 52%. Ma-am. Ma-am, we have left weapons range, the weapons officer reported, his voice strained. Enemy 2nd battle group has broken off and is moving into weapons range of point 015, the intel officer reported, his voice laced with concern. Their 3rd battle group is actively transmitting and receiving. Ma-am. Comms data burst, new transmission frequency 013B, the intel officer added, his voice tight. Nav, bring us into weapons range of their 1st battle group, Kyla ordered, her mind racing. Intel, start launching random arrival vectors on the current frequency and use file F12 for confirmation, Kyla ordered, her voice decisive. Weapons, fire free. I want that battle group shredded now. Those fools thought they could slip their interception of her communications past her, but she had spent 5 Earth years on Mars in the Teran Union's military academy. Their trick would not beat her. Maybe if she were one of her younger sisters, but not her. Comms, open a tight beam to Admiral Kyla ordered, her tone unyielding. Comms tapped, the officer replied. February 1st, 3506, 1055. KCS Nidan rocked again as another round from the enemy hit. Shields are down, Mom, the head of engineering, yelled, his voice strained. The battle was still in her favor. Her fleet had knocked out or destroyed nearly 30 of the enemy for the price of 7. A feat that had been achieved thanks to her intel officers noting the odd movements of the enemy battle groups and her ability to see through their tricks. Had this war started 12 years ago, maybe they would have had a chance, but her human classmates at the academy had seen to it that she was thoroughly trained. Nav, move us deeper into our formation. Comms, have the CSRA fill our position. Engineering ETA on shields reboot. Kyla ordered, her voice firm. 15 Kila units, Ma Am, the head of engineering, responded, his tone tense. We need over half of our fleet still combat capable for the next 45 Kila units. Comms, open a channel to all active ships and wings, she called out, her voice carrying authority. Channel open, Ma Am, the comms officer replied. Fear not the enemy, for he is scared. Do not show him mercy, for he will show you none. Do not embrace them, for their embrace is that of daggers. Kyla's voice rang out, clear and powerful. She took a deep breath, igniting a force within her, a primal power her kind had forgotten. Hate, hate, her fallen kinsmen. Hate them for the lives they seek to take. Hate them for the future they seek to steal. Hate them for the fallen they insult. Give them no quarter, give them no respite, give them no time. They are our enemy, and until they are but smoldering wrecks falling into this star, show them the spite of the free. Kyla commanded, her voice echoing through the ship. She reached out and terminated the channel from her terminal. Ma Am, our ships, the lieutenant commander started, but Kyla cut her off. The ships we believe destroyed, they are firing everything they have left, Kyla stated, her voice calm but deadly. Yes, Admiral, the LC asked, her tone questioning. Ask me what is happening after the battle, Kyla said, her eyes never leaving the TAC map. Ma Am, Gamar just transmitted. Aeon's insect started. Enemy comms relay found. ETA for reinforcement accelerated. Intelligence suggests enemy reinforcement imminent, the intel officer reported, his voice tight with urgency. Kyla's mind raced, screaming internally as she realized the implications of the report. She hated it when her classmate would pull in more forces, and in real life she knew all too well what that meant for her fleet. She had to switch plans and roll the dice, a gamble. Fleet, recall all wings and order a spearhead formation. Comms, tell ground HQ to target the enemy transport fleet. Kyla ordered, her voice sharp and commanding. She took a shuddering breath. Weapons, she nearly yelled, ready the AMC. Authorization J02A, the bridge, seemed to fall silent, and the weapons officer, for the first time since the start of this battle, looked away from his terminal. He watched her for longer than what would be considered appropriate or respectful. Yes, Grand Admiral, he finally replied, his voice filled with both respect and awe. The Nidan shook as the triple main guns shifted in their mounts, their standard orientation changing as each broke and took a point in a newly forming barrel. The entirely new weapon shifted back, connecting its firing chamber with the ship's secondary reactor. The Nidan was one of 4 battle cruisers she had, but it was the only Shinigami-class battle cruiser, and it was the only reason she chose it as her flagship. It was the only ship humans sometimes called a dreadnought, with its ability to change its standard triple spinal max for a single-fire antimatter cannon. To the bane of many admirals, fleet is in formation, Ma Am, the fleet leader, informed her, his voice steady. AMC ready. It needs 2 Kila units to fire, said the weapons officer, his tone laced with anticipation. Intel, find the enemy flagship and mark it for weapons, Kyla ordered, her eyes narrowing. Weapons, target their flagship's bridge, she commanded, her voice deadly. We need to decapitate their forces. Comms, transmit a request for surrender to any of their ships that survive, Kyla added, her voice firm. Ma Am, we have FTL inbound. The Teran's 1st and 2nd QRF fleets are jumping in the LC at the intel station, reported, his voice filled with relief. Tell them to quickly jump behind our position, Kyla ordered, her tone urgent. We can't have them in the strike zone. And tell any other reinforcements to jump to point 010, she added, her mind racing. Her TAC map let off a tone as her allies dropped back into real space before jumping again, returning just behind her formation. Then she turned her attention back to the enemy. They had regrouped, turning their forces, all of them, back to her. Comms, order all fleets to join our formation and fire free. Weapons, time until fire, Kyla ordered, her voice sharp. 1 Kyla unit, Ma am, the weapons officer replied, his voice tight with anticipation. But we will need a clear line, he added, his tone serious. Comms, have the CSRA move out of our line in 2 Kyla units, Kyla ordered, her voice filled with determination. She watched as the charge-up timer reached 0, her mind wandering to a phrase a friend had said to her when they played a tactical war game together. At the time, they had said it with a hint of humor, though she doubted they would do so now. That one line of speech had sent her down a rabbit hole of Earth's weapons history, a history that she never found the end of. In front of her eyes, the CSRA began to rise up and away from her ship's central line, and still, her mind lingered on the phrase, an odd phrase, one that her friend had spoken with humor as he deployed weapons of mass destruction on her base. Weapons that had technically won him the ground war. Weapons that were given to humans by the very man that had uttered the phrase so long ago. Time seemed to slow as the weapons officer initiated the firing sequence, and still, that phrase, one whose origin came from the tales of a culture on the near other side of Earth to him, yet uttered in both awe and horror by that man, lingered in her mind. She watched as the small piece of antimatter was accelerated to about 1/5 of the speed of light at her enemy. Her legs ached, her eyes grew sore, and her heart sped up its pounding, and she finally could not hold on to the thought anymore. For at this moment she had become it. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. She said to the room as the energy burst at the point of impact, blinding their sensors and cameras. And in the dark, she let loose a single teardrop. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. For every comment that says we will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.